Welcome to another edition of Everyday Prepper. Now, this is a touchy subject. Some people don't even like to talk about firearms or other non-lethal weapons, but just the facts of the matter is that all through history, there's been violence and there's been threats and there's been this thing called criminals, unlawful acts, horrible things done to people that are innocent. And as citizens of the world, in my opinion, we should all have various means of personal protection. And so there are places in the world, though, that there's a lot of restrictions. You don't need me to tell you that. And so if you live in an area that you can carry something, carry it. If you can't, that's up to you if you want to take a chance and get caught. But in where I live, it's very lawful to carry pretty much whatever you want. And in some places you need permits and license, in some places you don't. So that just varies. Just know your law. But the whole thing about having a weapon system, be it a pistol or pepper spray or a stun gun or taser or baton or whatever you have, is that you should know how to use it. You should be able to obviously afford it and to practice with it. So if you have like a collapsible baton, it would be real smart to have two batons, one for training and one for actual carry. So you don't actually put excessive use on the one you actually carry. Just like, for example, if you have a concealed carry gun, most guns, you're not going to wear them out, so it won't be that much of an issue. Now, if you're like a professional gun, shooter, you probably would want to have two of the same gun, one for the home protection and one for your shooting. But that's only if someone does excessive amounts of shooting, and that's for the average person, average one of us. We don't even have a need for all that. But in terms of like pepper spray, you can get inert canisters of pepper spray to practice spraying. There's got all kinds of different tools, practice implements for various weapon systems. Now, the big thing about if you're doing a firearm is to be able to manage the recoil, and also for it to fit your hand. You can actually be comfortable when you draw it to actually have a good point and aim in terms of its use, that you can hit what you're shooting. And you can put multiple targets within a decent amount of time on the target. This is very important. And just as important as that is that you know the function of the gun. You can take it apart, clean it, maintain it. You're getting the right bullet selections. Not all bullets are good for self-defense or really applicable. And you also have to think about the holster system. It took me a long time to upgrade to this holster, and I really like it. But you have to find a holster that's fitting your needs. The gun, also doesn't need to be full size. I've tried full size guns, as I've tried a lot of different types of options, and I keep coming back to this. And do I have other options? I may or may not, but it doesn't really matter because this is all that I pretty much carry anymore. And so, you got to look at size and weight is a big factor. And that's how we're going to kind of echo this theme. And it's already been brought up before, in this foundational fundamentals of everyday carry for preppers. That, weight and bulk and size parameters. I mean, look how thin this is. Compared to my thumb, it's like the width of my thumb, or if not smaller. I mean, it's just kind of really usable. Let's just be honest. It's a great system. And so we don't have to sometimes reinvent the wheel and try to find things to overcomplicate it. It's, if you have it, you have it. The actual chances of me actually drawing my weapon in real life and actually shooting someone, it's almost none. It's just like zero. Especially where I live, there's like pretty much no crime, at least on person-to-person crime. There's just almost none. I mean, I'm more apt to draw my gun, and I have already, against an animal. I had a very large a canine that come and attack me recently, and I had to draw my weapon, and luckily I didn't have to kill the animal, but good Lord, it was a very intense situation. And I think the animal knew that it was in peril because I was just ready to go ahead and put it out. And, if I didn't have something with me, it could have been a bad situation. You don't want to be grappling with a dog that is about the same weight as you. You know what I'm saying? That's some pretty scary stuff. So we all have to have redundancies. And when it comes to personal protection, it's good to also have more than just one thing. So if you have a lethal means, you also need to have a non-lethal. That's just the way I roll. Because if you ever had to go to court and they're going to say, well, did you have any other options? Did you deploy anything else besides going right to deadly force? And if you say no, then you're going to be looked at like, oh, maybe you used excessive force. So it's a lot better in a court of law to say, yeah, I pulled out my pepper spray. I sprayed them until I ran out, and deployed my baton until basically got too close to me and I couldn't even use it effectively. So I had to draw my weapon, and I was in fear of my life. And the results were that the individual perished regretfully. And so those are the kind of things, God forbid if it ever happened, you'd have a continuum of force. And so in this foundational video, remember that you really should have other options. Is it going to be more inconvenient to carry several things? Yes. But when you go to court, you won't really think about all that inconvenience. And it won't be that inconvenient if you have it system right. Like this is just a few ounces for the gun and holster, spare mag, and once again, a small can of pepper spray or maybe like a baton. They really don't add up. You can get ultralight versions of all that, and it just adds literally ounces, not pounds, to your system. So, consider self-protection a pretty high priority besides the other gear that we talked about. But this, my friends, can save your life, in a jiffy. And we have to be mindful of these things because our family is important. Our own well-being is important. We should respect ourselves. And as always, be mindful that every day to be the best prepper we can be.